When I moved to Lisbon at the beginning of 2025, after living almost 6.5 years in Berlin, one of the things I wanted to discover was the Lisbon's jazz scene, and I quickly realized it was different. Unlike Berlin, where there are larger clubs and a much more concentrated scene, Lisbon's jazz scene feels much more intimate. It's spread across cafes, listening bars, small listening rooms, each with its own personality. So if you're a jazz-rooted artist or musician and curious about Lisbon, I want to help you understand how the Lisbon's jazz music scene feels like through 7 places that helped me discover. Because before thinking about opportunities, I believe it's important to understand the culture behind it. Of course, it's impossible to talk about jazz in Lisbon without mentioning Hot Clube de Portugal. Founded in 1952 by Luís Vilas-Boas, it's one of the oldest jazz clubs in Europe and played a fundamental role in introducing and developing jazz in Portugal. Although it's currently closed, its influence is still present throughout the city and hopefully it will reopen soon. But while we wait, jazz has continued to grow in many other spaces across Lisbon. Café Dias is probably one of the best examples of how unexpected Lisbon's jazz scene can be. During the day, it's simply a neighborhood cafe in Alcântara. People come here for coffee, lunch, or to meet friends. Then every Thursday evening, everything changes. The tables fill up, musicians arrive, and this small cafe becomes one of the city's most intimate jazz spaces. What I love about Café Dias is how close you are to the music. You really feel part of the performance. Depending on where you go, the Lisbon jazz scene can feel completely different. At Fábrica, Braço de Prata, you're stepping into one of those hybrid cultural spaces where everything overlaps. Jazz flows into other genres, like Brazilian music. So it feels less defined, but much more open. So let's have a look. Every Thursday, the Jazz Jam session brings together musicians inside Salonička, creating one of the city's regular meeting points for improvisation. What I enjoy here at Fábrica Braço de Prata is that jazz feels connected to a wider artistic community rather than existing on its own. Another place that reflects this community spirit is Cossoul. Working closely with local conservatories, it creates opportunities for students and experienced musicians to share the same stage. One of my favorite memories here was seeing Jason Mize perform live. It reminded me that Lisbon scene isn't only about established venues, it's also about creating spaces where learning, collaboration, and great performances happen side by side. Now, I want to take you through 3 different places that really define the jazz scene here in Lisbon and shape how it's experienced live. Each one has its own identity, audience, and different way of presenting the music. Starting with Távola Jazz Club, the jazz club here in Lisbon, the place where to catch live jazz from Tuesday to Saturday, as you can see here in front of the venue, and a key part of how the jazz scene presents itself. The atmosphere here is incredibly intimate. You're close enough to hear every interaction between the musicians, and the audience comes to listen. Programming ranges from local trios to international ensembles, making every night feel personal. It's definitely one of those places that reminds you why small jazz clubs continue to matter. Paraíso 45 is probably my favorite jazz spot in the city. I love the way the program mixes Portuguese musicians with international artists. You can really feel the care that Rosita Cass puts into curating each program. Every time I leave, I discover something new, and I think that's one of the greatest qualities a music venue can have. Nina's Lounge brings yet another perspective to Lisbon's jazz scene. Now based inside Tribal Social Club, it has built a warm, welcoming atmosphere where jazz and soul are the center of everything. I really appreciate the diverse programming here created by Ashanti. Another place to hear great jazz, but also listen carefully and share the experience with an audience that genuinely cares about what's happening on stage. The last place I want to share is one of the newest additions to Lisbon's jazz scene. The Midnight Espresso combines an intimate jazz club with a dessert bar in the heart of Chiado. I believe that its small capacity creates a focused listening experience where every concert feels very personal. For me, it's great to see new venues like this opening. It shows that Lisbon's jazz scene is still evolving, creating new spaces where musicians and audiences can connect. I hope this video gave you a better understanding of Lisbon's jazz scene. And before you go, I would love to hear from you about this, but I have also a question. If you were exploring Lisbon's jazz scene, what would you be looking for first? Local venues, communities, jam sessions, or maybe professionals working within the jazz scene to do some networking? So let me know in the comment section. And if you want more content like this, understanding different jazz music scenes in Europe, and insights and tips and practical advice on how to communicate your music with more confidence and promote it authentically, subscribe to the Music Travel Guide YouTube channel. So now, that's it for today. I'll see you in the next video here on the Music Travel Guide YouTube channel with me, Michael Piardi.